Good evening, everybody. Episode 151 of So What's Been Happening. Tonight is Thursday, the 12th of September, and it is second week of finals time. After a big first week, some will say big, some will say might as well not have turned up. So we'll discuss that tonight. We've got a big lineup tonight, which is good. So we're going to swing the boys through in amongst the discussion. We've got a couple of little surprise guests as well, which is nice. A new guest we haven't had on before, and also a guest that's a returning superstar. So there you go. I won't say too much more. And one, well, you can be the judge what the third one is, but we'll talk about that shortly. All right, here we go. It is episode 151, as I mentioned. It is finals time, and this is what it looks like now. We're going to bring Cuz on first. Cuz, talk to me a little bit about what you saw here, mate.
Hey, Az. Look, I enjoy it to watch it because my side's not in it, which sounds funny in itself, but it takes away the I suppose, the frustration out of the game.
Yep.
I think the four results, probably Sydney and GWS was always going to be, I think, the close one. I think people are a bit surprised with what Geelong ended up doing to Port Adelaide. I think people thought Hawthorn could beat the Doggies, maybe not in as convincing fashion as they did. Like, I think for the second half, they really dominated the Doggies, and for whatever reason, the Doggies struggled to sort of make any sort of impact in that second half of footy. So, look, I think it sets us up for what I think a lot of people think may be a one-sided game in Adelaide on Saturday night. Saturday night, yeah.
Right, don't preempt it. Don't tell the whole story. We've got a little bit to cover off tonight, Cuz. So,
and then I think the other game, I think it'd be a good game. Look, they're both.
That's it. That's the precursor I needed. It'll be a good game. I don't want to hear no discussion further than that at this stage. Right, Cuz, before we bring our other sidekick on, introduce us to our newest guest, mate, and I'll bring him up.
Look, our newest guest is a wonderful individual, great bloke. He actually spent a bit of time coaching with Alan and I at Blackburn. Also done some pretty good coaching at Eastern Rangers, and just a really good, down-to-earth bloke. Very funny man. Unfortunately, though, there is a little disclaimer at the end that he barracks for the poo and the wee. So I thought a perfect opportunity to introduce him to the wonderful thing that is the So What's Been Happening podcast. So I'd like to introduce the great John Bliss.
G'day, welcome. There's a big rap, mate. Other than the poo and wee supporter, but we'll go with that. I hope you're ready for tonight's action.
I am. Thanks for having us and the nice words, Cuz. It's the nicest thing you ever said to me, I think.
If you can't put a good lead in, don't worry about it's the lead out that's the problem. What's going to happen after the show, what the world is going to turn into. So let's bring on the other Blackburn bandit while you're there. Here he is, the great Alan Love. How are you, mate?
Good evening, gentlemen.
Welcome back.
Johnny, how are you, mate? You Hawthorns suck.
I'm good, mate. Good to be
early.
This time of year.
Oh, there's no such thing as going early, Glenn. Not with Hawthorn people. It's never too early. It's never too late. It's great. How are you, mate? You good?
I'm good. How are you guys?
Well, very well.
It's good.
Yeah, good. Really good.
All right, we've got one more guest before we bring on our late comer, which is a nice little surprise, which has probably been a surprise to his team, for us anyway, but more importantly, we'll see if it's been a surprise to him. But let's bring on, it's kind of referred to tonight as the footy merch sucks man. Here he is. Welcome back, Zamet. Eddie Zamet.
Oh, no.
Oh, no. Hey, guys, how are you?
Hey, Eddie.
Good to see you, mate. All right, we need to declare tonight too, right from now, who we believe which team's going to go all the way after that first week of finals we saw. So we're going to quickly debrief just a couple very quickly the first round of the game. So Port Adelaide versus the Geelong Cats. Now, there's a bit to talk about here. But before we go too early, we're going to let this boy have a say. Who was it? He's been on the show before. I refer to him, and he's aptly known as the Hurricane. So he's going to talk a little bit about his great cats. Look at this. The man's ready.
Hey, boys. How you going?
Welcome back, mate.
Good to see you, lads. John, nice to meet you. I haven't met you before. I've met the other distinguished guests.
Nice to meet you too.
But yeah, it's nice to see you. To be honest, I've been lying low because I didn't think I was going to be needed this year. I thought that I could just I thought I'd have a couple of years off for a rebuild, but we had to pull the cup out and shine it up for you just so you could enjoy it.
Could it be your year, Hurricane? We'll talk about that in a second. But obviously an avid collector of memorabilia in amongst cat memorabilia as well, but multiple others, including this great man's got number plates that say Bradman. So you can imagine how excited he is in amongst the merch space. But forget number plates. We had that number plate discussion last week. Maybe our other guest, if he decides to show up, our Hawk man, can tell us, maybe we will get a real value from a memorabilia expert on what those plates are actually worth. So I hope he's got them handy again, because maybe tonight's the night. Would we raise about $20 after the last session? So, all right, Hurricane, what did you see, mate? Obviously you're surprised. 84 points. It was an absolute shellacking. What are the cats got?
Let's get rid of the props, AC, because now it's time to be humble, the way Andrew Mackey and Neil Baum have taught us. To be honest, mate, I've been very surprised.
Yep.
Very, very, very surprised. I mean, I just love going to the game. So if you win, lose, or draw, it's just great time out, But I didn't think they'd make the 8, to be honest, mate, this year. So they've just done really well at the trade table, and they've picked up some good kids. And I think that for guys like yourselves that understand the game, like they started the season so well, but then mid-year hit that slump. But if you don't have the players out there on the park, you take Dangerfield out of any side playing in the middle, or Tom Stewart or Duncan, so they're really, really fit, and they've got a good list, and they're all right at the right time. So I think they've put a lot into building, so that they're really right now. I think if they can get it, it'll just about be their biggest one in the last 5 to 10 years. So I think that they'd be stealing it, to be honest, because you'd think Brisbane and GWS and even Port, despite last week, they've been thereabouts the last 5 or 6 years, and they've played in prelims. So, even the Swans have been good, but the Swans have been ordering for about 5 or 6 weeks. So,
honestly, Hurricane, are you actually thinking that Port is still a chance?
I'm not. There's been that many twists this year, and everyone thinks that Hawthorn. You can't be up for that long. And then, Port beat the Swans by 120 odd points only a month ago. Right. So I think that home ground advantage, last week they were terrible, but if they bring their best, they'll still be in this game this week. And if they can start well in the first quarter, I think they'll be thereabouts. I wouldn't be surprised if Port can get the job done, to be honest. I just think that there's been that many twists all year that there's going to be another twist before the end of the year. It's anyone's game. I think GWS are the side to be feared. I think that if Geelong make the grand final, I think they'll win the grand final. So, but I don't know that we'll make the grand final. So.
There's definitely one other boy on here that thinks GWS are a massive show.
Mate, they are, because they just, they're even all over the ground.
Yep. So we'll see more about that shortly. But anyone surprised on this chat amongst us now that, Geelong went and did what they did? Lovey, you know the game pretty well, mate. what's your thoughts? You were a big fan of Port Adelaide during the year.
First of all, I'm surprised that someone out in Outback Bendigo allowed the Hurricane to take the tin out of their Outback Dunny. It's good to see. Talk about merch. I'm not surprised. Experience matters. And look, the margin was probably surprising, and the way that Port Adelaide fell over probably was surprising. But experience does matter, and that's why I think I'm also thinking GWS, despite what happened last week, are a strong chance because they've been there a number of times now, and they're a bit different as opposed to Brisbane, who are probably a bit more predictable. So Geelong, for me, because they get the home final next week. It's been like that a lot of other years. It is basically a stepping stone into the grand final. So you can't deny that. So Geelong did what they had to do, did it really well. I don't think, and everyone says, because Danger's been back and fine the last 2 months, that just means that Geelong just picked up a cog. I actually don't believe in that in any way, shape or form. He's because Geelong have always relied upon 13, 18 prelims. That's list depth, and what it is that it's your B graders, and what you would call your B graders in the team that actually step up because they're told to internally. I'm sure Chris Scott would put it on all those players that don't have the profile to actually step up and get the job done. Brad Close, he's playing really good footy again at the right time of year. All those smaller forwards that they've got actually are playing good football. Neil, playing better football than he has all year as a tall forward. But the big ones, Maxie Holmes, good luck trying to match up on him. Plays down back, plays in the middle. He's the wild card, but again, he's just playing good football at the right time of the year. So it's not Dangerfield in any way, shape or form. And also the other one is, and don't underestimate the influence that Stanley actually has on the structure of that team and the way they go about their stoppages. Because as much as people malign Ruckman, if you can get that first gilt-edged tap, it's money for jam after that. So Geelong are doing what Geelong do. It's that simple.
It's not a bad brand to be known for, doing what Geelong do.
Right.
And there's that quiet bloke up forward. What I think he wears number 5, Cameron. Mate, if he gets a hold of the game, any game.
Again, everyone's playing around him. Everyone around him's actually playing better footy. Again, it's not for me. It's not Cameron. It's everyone around him too. And the sad thing is, I don't see any of those guys that played VFL last week getting back in the side. At a pinch, I reckon Guthrie for a bit more run on grand final day, but that's it.
Yep. For me, there's one instruction: get the ball to Cameron and get out of the way. Let him do his thing, mate.
I'd get the ball to Neil. He's deeper. He's 30 out most of the time. Cameron can still go around kicking goals. I mean, you saw that ridiculous snapshot he kicked from Glenelg. So, you might as well just kick it into Neil all night. I would.
Yep.
He's either clunking them or it's hitting the ground.
As you said, like it's generally about your bottom 6 and they've got such a deep list all over the ground. So,
yep. All right, we're going to bring on Frankston's finest. There he is, Cuz. Tell us a little bit about the Cats, mate. What are they going to do?
Oh, look,
what did they do?
Great
What
points
did
by
you
both.
see?
Obviously, Hurricanes passionate and watching them, but Lovey made some great points. I think your stars are your stars. Like Cameron's a superstar. I'd love him running around in a red and black jumper, but I think the biggest thing last week as I watched the game and having coached a fair bit of footy in recent times, Holmes's game last week was just next level. Like his run and carry, his work rate, and then to top it off, his effectiveness once he got the footy. Like he probably got it, I think, about 30 times and was going to about 89, 90% efficiency, that's elite. And if you speak to other teams, they probably didn't rate him as elite, but now he's, as Lovey said, about a B grader, he's probably stepped up to be nearly an A grader, so to speak. And I think you hear it all the time in footy circles, and obviously as a passionate Cats person, as a Bomber person, when Heppel retired at last year and they said about a farewell game, I think the great man Tom Hawkins has been a wonderful servant of the game and a wonderful servant of Geelong, but I think he's an insurance policy at the moment. It's a nice one to have, but I can't see him getting a game.
All right.
I'm interested to see what you think, Hurricane.
No chance.
Yeah.
Righto. We'll leave it there. We're going to get a little bit deeper on Cats next week as they take the week off, which is pretty nice. Not a bad spot to be, Hurricane. All right. We're going to bring up.
As 1 second, though, quickly, just on the Port thing that Hurricane touched on again. Looking at it, obviously, you'd think they got beaten by 83 points or whatever it was. But the way this year has gone, they're not out of it. Look, if you're going to have a bet and have your $5 on one side, you'd back probably Hawthorn with the form. But as I said, there's been that many twists and turns, as Hurricane touched on before. Home ground, as much as Ken Hinkley in the press conference today said there's no pressure on him, the pressure on him, the pressure on them.
No pressure.
They say there's no pressure on the young Hawks, but we'll just wait and see. I think it'll be a good game of footy. I hope it's a good game of footy as an impartial watcher.
Yep, absolutely. All right, thanks for that, Cuz. We're going to bring up John for a quick chat on what he's thinking of the Cats, what he saw. Surely they're a danger to these Hawks.
The good old Cats, eh? Let's hope the rivalry continues. But I think the beauty of the Cats is you talk about Dangerfield and those sorts of players that like get on the shoulders. They set the tone early. But when you talk about like their bottom six, bottom seven, I think what they've got is a body of work over a number of years that they have evidence when young players come in or mid-season draft picks come in as mature ages. They've got a body of evidence over a number of years that works. So when you get told from whether it's Chris Scott or any of your assistant coaches, your development coaches, this is how we play, this is what we need to do, you can't argue with it because they've got 20 years now of evidence that backs it up, 18 prelims or whatever 16 prelims or whatever it's been. I think that's the difference. You look at clubs like an Adelaide where players can probably question that. It's like, well, where have you been last 20 odd years? Where if you look at a Geelong and you look at teams like Sydney, you can't question it because their methods work. And that's probably where you get that buy and that belief from your bottom, 6 or 8 that come in and play those defining roles. And you've got those superstars in Cameron and Dangerfield. They put you on your shoulders and it's a cream on the top and the cherry. But when you've got that history and that body of work over a number of years behind you, you just get immediate buy-in and players come in and they're like sponges and they just want to get on board because they know what you're telling them works and what you're telling them is right.
Yep, 100%.
And you can't discount the impact that Danger has on those kids that are playing just because he's out there, mate. Like, are they right?
Well, he talks the talk, Danger, and he gets criticised that for a bit, but he definitely walks the walk. And if you've got someone who can go out there, who talks and goes out there and does what he says he's going to do and then sets the tone like he did on Friday or Thursday night last week, puts his body on the line, head over at first and gets the team going, they're only going to come with you. So I think that's the beauty of someone like Dangerfield.
Yep, I feel a rousing coaching speech coming up from one of you boys tonight, how we did it. Last week we talked about, just to let you know, John, we talked about what we thought the score might be at halftime in the games and then potentially what the coach would say as one of them was getting belted. And in that instance, it happened to be Hawthorn. So very much a mixed result and a massive change to that result after that. So maybe our coaching spray worked behind the scenes. But here we go. All right, we're going to bring up the merch man, Eddie Zammit, and just tell us, Eddie, what's your thoughts on Geelong? Were you surprised? Most of you boys all tipped Port Adelaide, let's be fair. What do you think?
I think Geelong have proven they're a great side. Like, they're consistent. The longevity of Geelong is insane. It's frustrating from a Richmond supporter point of view. But yeah, no, I think they've done a great job to get that far. Like, I'm not sure about the efforts of Port Adelaide. Yeah, that's what I've got to say.
Righto, beautiful. Let's just move. We've got a bit of love in the room for the Hawks tonight. I can't come at the Cats. So sorry, Hurricane. I must admit, you've had your time.
I understand, AC. I was embarrassed I didn't think I'd be needed this time of year again, to be honest, mate. So.
All right. Well, we might just sit you in the background just for a touch, Hurricane, and feel free to jump on at any stage. Give me a wave, boys, in the background if you absolutely want to voice your opinion on one of these topics that we talk about next. But we're going to bring up just a little bit of Hawk love in the room for now. So here we go with John being a Hawk. Lovey, I know your thoughts on the Hawk, so I'll just put you down for a second. We're going to be quite strategic about this. Now, we've got a bit of Hawk love here, mate. So what an unbelievable season, firstly and foremost. If it goes any further than this, it's an absolute bonus. My daughter is one that's hated footy and jumped on the rugby wagon. She's now decided she's going to Adelaide with her boyfriend, leaving tomorrow morning, bought tickets, gone and bought some merch tonight. She's all over the Hawks. So it's an exciting, it's exciting just to see someone jump on a wagon and get on board properly in the finals. But we've got another Hawk who, look, let's face it, he's got the disco lights on tonight. He's up and about. He's very confident. Let's bring him up. Welcome back. Welcome back, mate.
Thanks, Aaron. How you going, John? Fuck, I knew I knew this guy was a good bloke when I saw him. You can pick a Hawk supporter at this time.
Can pick us. He's always smiling.
Mate, there's too much love in the room before. Geelong supporters, fuck them. Nah, this time of year, fuck them. Nah, they're a great team. They're a tough team, but nah, it's too much love in the room. Nah, too much love. Can't the Hawks? We're a happy team at Hawthorn.
Don't say too much,
Get
mate.
Lovey
We'll cut
on.
you off.
Get Lovey on. Come on, Lovey.
We have to, don't we? What can you say, Lovey?
Yeah, fucker, here we go.
What can you say?
Let's turn red. Turn it up.
Fuck off. Seriously, just this is just, I gave you guys credit last week and for getting there, and it was very, very gritted teeth type stuff. Now I'm just sick and fucking tired, and I want you to just fall into a hole and disappear entirely.
I told
and
you.
I think the competition would be better for it. I honestly think that sanity will prevail. Unfortunately, you'll get to a prelim, and that's just going to be an absolute Monty. But just Hawthorn, fuck off. Simple. Fuck off.
I'll be on that first flight to Sydney if we win on Friday night.
Yeah,
You know what?
I'm still on the road to Adelaide as we speak.
I love that you're getting ahead of yourself, John. You've done that for a long time with Hawthorn. Some years you've had reasons for it, but not this time. I haven't had proper hormones working since 2004. But I tell you what, if you guys get done this weekend, I might just rod you up. I honestly can't wait. I can't wait for Port Adelaide to hit back. And little Jackie Ginnivan. I was going to say this for later. And I know that the modern age, being a modern age tool bag is actually some sort of badge of honour. The fact of the matter is, you put your teammates under the pump when you say and speak stupid shit the way he does. I honestly don't think that what he did during the week was of benefit to anyone but himself. And I legitimately believe that, having been involved in footy clubs for a long, long time. And I reckon that him doing that, I just think there's a line. On that, if Hawthorn win the premiership, I now have to have, I've promised there's going to be a rolling tattoo bet. If Hawthorn win the premiership, that Carlton tattoo I promised last week will transfer across to a Hawthorn emblem.
Whereabouts? On your ass?
No, same place, 20-cent coin on the ankle bone. But what I want in return from you piss ants, is that if Hawthorn lose this weekend, when we have a get-together, you two shout the first hour of piss.
First hour.
Oh, geez, that means I've got to cover my bet this week.
I'd be selling some of those fucking guitars if I were you, Aaron.
There's no money here, mate. Anyway, see, I'll tell you why the Hawks are. I'll give you an insight why the Hawks have risen above. Because you got to understand that kids these days, you can't treat a kid the same these days as you did probably up until 10 years ago, 10 years ago. The
I know,
kids
it's skibbity riz, right?
kids respond different. They communicate different. Like Sam Mitchell goes, when these kids, when they talk, they don't ring each other. They do Snapchat or TikTok. So you can't change. You got to go with the flow. You got to adapt. You got to adapt to the kids. Because then
Why?
there's other ways of getting your kids to play for you by just having he's got a great relationship with them. He does the one-on-one.
Yeah, I know.
I think he's just the evolution of Sam Mitchell. It's fantastic. Look, it's all great when you're winning, right? But then when you start losing,
Well,
then you
that's my
start.
point.
Yeah,
So
that's
how
right.
do you manage these knuckleheads when they're still carrying on like pork chops out in social media and the like? I mean, for me personally, you can manage them. It's called a $450,000 a year contract. You keep fucking up, you can go to a third club, and you can keep being a pariah at your own club. No, I'm sorry, but piss off, mate. If there's certain things that he's done that aren't right within the club, then I think, pull it in. If Hawthorn are absolutely perfectly fine with what he's doing, if that's their new way of going about things, like you say, it's great while you're winning. Let's see what it's like when they're not winning in, say, a year or two, or whenever it might be.
But
that's
you know
going
what?
to be a test.
Keep driving the momentum. What do you think, John?
Well, I think Jackie Ginnivan's actually been great for us. I agree that he probably stepped over slightly with the comment about see you in 2 weeks, but he gets just as excited when he passes off the ball as he does when he kicks his goal himself.
That's right. I saw that.
And that's the sort of stuff that I sit there and go, well, you can go to the pub for a beer, I don't care, because you can come in, you're playing like Nicky Watson handballs off to Finn McGuinness in the goal square, has every right to go on and kick five. What Sam Mitchell, I think, has done is brilliant, not from a tactical sense, but he's done the opposite to what Uze's done at Richmond. Uze came in at Richmond and ripped down all the old premiership heroes off their walls, and we're starting again. Sam Mitchell's brought in our old premiership heroes and spoken to the club. He's brought in Dippo, he's brought in Dunstall, he's brought in all the past greats, Campbell Brown, 08 premierships, and bled, this is what this club means, this is what this club does. We breed success, we win flags. And yes, look, you can't tell me there's an AFL coach out there with the resources they have that don't know what Hawthorn's going to do on the weekend, and Hawthorn doesn't know what Port Adelaide's going to do on the weekend. But it's how you instill that belief, and I think that's where Sam Mitchell's really shined, and instilling that belief and instilling what Hawthorn means, and bringing in players who have been there and done it before them, and instilling that belief in the players and giving them that freedom to express themselves. And I think, you could argue that Ginnivan tweet was a little bit over the line, but I think the rest of the stuff he's done, he's been nothing but great for Hawthorn.
Fuck, good response, John. Fuck, I like this guy, Aaron. Get him on again.
Yeah,
and
let's face it, he's making way too much sense for this podcast. So,
and I'm just going to double.
He may not be voted back. Tell us, Adam.
Can I just talk about another couple of things? It's I heard today that Sam Mitchell, most of the new players that have got over the line recently, like Meek and some others, when they've been met by Sam Mitchell, apparently Sam Mitchell's been bringing his wife with him too. Apparently Sam Mitchell's wife has a big role in the communication of recruitment as well. I don't know if she's on the payroll. Did you hear this, John?
Yeah, I think that's one of the things he's trying to push is that obviously Hawthorn's known as a family club, so bringing his wife and maybe sometimes his kids along just to amplify that value of the family club. I think that's a tactic behind that one.
I think she's actually doing more than just like hanging around. I think she's actually part of the negotiations. Apparently, in the room, it's Sam Mitchell, Jared Roughhead, and Sam Mitchell's wife.
Well, I suppose if you've got to try and convince a player to come overseas, you've got to try and convince their girlfriend or their wives to come with them. So there might be the tactic behind that too.
Well, Meek's missus was in the room, and after the interview, Meek's missus goes, "Well, we have to go now." That was it.
Oh, this is sounding a lot like Mrs. Hardwick to me. Just keep it just know your role, play your role. Cuz is it's a big one for Cuz. We must ask Eddie Zammit. Have we seen Adam Uze's wife in amongst this chat down at the Tigerland, mate? They threw all the shit in the skip, I heard.
I think
It was all from
going
Richmond.
to North Melbourne games and not focusing on Richmond. What the hell's going on? Get him out of there.
All right, let's not spend too much time on the Hawks. We'll get a chance to talk about them again in a second. Let's move on. Sydney GWS quickly. You're a massive GWS man right now. Now that your Tigers are been second rate, let's face it, which we haven't got to say that for many years, the last few anyway. What's your thoughts on that game? It was an absolute cracker.
I thought they would have been disappointed to lose that match, but Heaney, what a match he played. It was incredible. That one-handed mark to that goal, to that screamer. It was incredible. The missing in action person, the only thing that GWS got wrong was, where's Toby Green? Get him out there. Obviously, there's a few issues, or he was manned well. He was taken out of the action. But if he comes into the action, I can't see how they can lose. They just won Sydney, and you've got to remember that. The thing that I look at is ultimately the grand final is being held on the MCG, and I honestly think that there's very few teams that left. I personally think GWS Geelong can actually. I know that I don't think they can play in the grand final, but but those two can play on the MCG. You got to think of the end result. Remember, Richmond beat Sydney.
Jeez, you're hanging your whole season on that one. Absolutely. Lovey, I'll just get your thoughts on quickly on Sydney versus obviously what you saw in GWS. Who the Swans were down. I thought that goal by Callan Ward was almost going to be the sealer at that point. It turned around straight after that with a goal from Papley, who set him alight.
You know what worries me? Every time there's a close game of football is when a team goes 2 goals up with about 5 minutes left.
Yep.
And you look at the body, and you always look at the body language. You think they feel like they've got it, and then they just go defensive for about 30 seconds. And it's all you take. Sydney haven't been great the last 6 weeks, but they're a great side, right? So let's be honest. I do think Sydney is still the best team in it, along with GWS and Geelong. They're the 3 contenders left for me.
Yeah.
The thing with Sydney is they still played aggressively, and that was the thing that kept them in the game in that last 5 minutes. I mean, you can talk about the full quarter in GWS, but Sydney were always going to come because that's what good teams do. GWS did really well to hold on as long as they did, I thought, to be honest. But they just missed a trick or two, I think, GWS in that last few minutes. They still didn't try and push forward with the football more often than what they did. And they allowed, the space they gave Papley and Heaney in that goal. Yeah, Papley was 2-on-1. There was a lot of miscommunication between the GWS players probably in that last 5 minutes. And I reckon if they had the time again, they'd probably, they'd literally just talk to each other a bit better than what they did in those clinch situations. But just really quickly, Toby Green, I don't know. I feel like he must be carrying. He's either carrying something, or I think I go forward to next year. I don't think he should be captain anymore, and I would put that on to Taylor, the key defender. He's 30, so you've already seen the peak of Toby's football prowess now. So I think let the boy go after this year from a captaincy perspective, and just let him try and play some football. He's had a go at it. It's been really good. I mean, there's still a chance to win the premiership, but he's not in form. That means that GWS just have to find, a young Jones boy or someone else to try and step up on his behalf. And
so you're saying he should be captain? He shouldn't be captain even if they win the premiership?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep. Because his form's not. He's probably worried about trying to lead, and as a consequence, and a lot of guys do this. as a consequence, they probably just drop off that 1 or 2% about their own game of football.
Mm.
And I think that's what's happening with Toby, unless he's carrying injury. It's the only thing I can think of because he's horribly out of form again.
He is,
So
yeah.
hopefully he can pick up for this week.
Yeah, it was a good match though. It was it was a great match.
Yeah. It was
Mate,
awesome.
great thoughts about Toby Green. Look, I think so too. I think at times him and Heaney play similar sort of roles. I think, agreeing with what Lovey says, there's something going on there, whether it's his body's letting him down in some way, shape or form, because he is that match winner type. And I think on last week's game, Adam Kingsley and their team, I don't think out-coached is the word, but I think they went defensive probably about 2 or 3 minutes too early. That's just my opinion. I'm not saying that's correct or whatever, because I think, yes, most players with a minute to go will put a tall, do it, and most of it's done player-driven, but I think there seemed to be a lack of cohesion and a lot of confusion between the bench and the players in that last 5 minutes in that game against Sydney. Now, you hear the commentators say, oh, they've got to get Toby Green, I've got to get the best, but that can be dependent on where the play is and that sort of stuff. But as Lovey would know as a coach, you've got to try to find a way to orchestrate that. So as much as there's fatigue in a game that was seesawing, especially in the sort of last quarter, a gentleman that we coach with, that John, Lovey and I coach with, Anthony Allen used to always say to us, get your best players on the ground.
Yeah, just on that,
we live in the world. What's that?
Absolute, just on that, it absolute frustrates the hell of me out of me to see now that we're getting players stuck, 4 and 5 great players stuck on this side when the play is on the outside. Mate, we used to be able to get away with it. The player used to just get off, right? What's changed now, and why doesn't it happen like that? We don't play one-on-one footy, right? So a lot of the time. So what's the massive change now? If we can't get them on the ground on the world's smallest ground, what hope have we got on the G?
You gotta go, Lovey.
The concept, I think coaches are reluctant to move away from set positions for set players. Now, Bontempelli was on the bench for a long time. I remember it was about 3 weeks ago. It was about a game about 3 weeks ago, and he was on the bench. It was about 5 minutes.
Yeah,
but
about 6 minutes.
they only want a certain player to come off the ground for the Bont. So, there was at least 5-6 different Footscray players that could have come off the ground. Bont could have got straight back on. And what would have happened then is you rearrange the positions that the blokes have to play in. So the guy that came off could have been a half-forward flanker. Well, Bont's not going to play half-forward, right? So what they would have to be trying to wangle either an on-ball or all of a sudden who's already on ball has to go to half-forward. And you've got to try and message that as well. The runner's not allowed out there unless there's a goal, et cetera, et cetera. So it's really hard to communicate if you've got to try and wangle 2 to 3 positions just to get a champion footballer back on the field at that level. So I understand the frustrations on that. Coaches don't want to move away from having their set players for certain scenarios at certain time periods in the game. As stupid as that sounds, it's becoming more NFL as we go, as we get more modern with our own code. My question is, why wouldn't you rest your players much earlier in the quarter and then have them on for the last 7 or 8 and don't rest them? I mean, to me, it just seems a bit silly to have Bont come off with 10 minutes left or 11 minutes, 11 minutes of real game time left, and you're struggling to get him on. Now let him bust a lung for the first 10 minutes, come off for 5, still got 10 to 15 minutes of the game left to go. I don't understand. I'm struggling to understand why you just wouldn't bring off those star players a lot earlier in the quarter and then let them finish the game out or the quarter out.
Yeah, well, that's exactly my point, because this getting caught out is happening way too often, and it's way too critical in that last half of the quarter. So, Cuz, give us a quick word, and then we're going to move on.
Yeah, look, as Lovey said, and it drips down to local level as well, even the next level down to VFL level and that as well, because you see the situation, or a coach can see the situation, but because of the way that the rules of the game have become so sort of amplified, there's only certain things you can do. And the players are aware of it too. They know the rotation they're in, on ball, forward, whatever. So it's amazing how quick one player comes off the one wrong player in the heat of the moment, how it can throw out the equilibrium for that 2 or 3 minutes, which, as we saw in the Sydney game, can turn the game, change the result.
Right. So you boys coach. I'm going to bring up the coaches in amongst us here now. Now, is this happening at local footy? You're getting stuck on the outside, happening all the time because we're copying and replicating that in AFL footy. So what's going to change that? Lovey, that thought process, I totally agree. Get your better players on a little bit later and run that risk and de-risk that, I guess you'd say. But John, just interested in your thoughts, and then we'll move on to something else.
The only thing that's going to change it is the coach having the courage to be able to pull another player off. Lovey touched on it in his first comments. Having the ability to pull off that half forward flank or that back flanker or that winger on the near side to get him off and push someone out there. So having that, having them the trust, in your other players to fulfill that role for a couple of minutes until you can get your preferred 18 out there. What's going to change that? I think that just comes down to training and getting as many players across the different roles as you possibly can.
Yep. There was times there that they flicked back to the bench and possibly their best 4 players were on the bench. Now, I just can't see how that works, any other sport other than potentially ice hockey where they run them as a line. It just doesn't make sense. Lovey?
Aaron, I don't mind if you've got your best 4 on the bench, but again, I go back to the fact, let them run the first 8 minutes, have a breather until about the 12, 13 minute mark and let them run the game out after that. They don't come back to the bench.
Yep, absolutely.
It's to me, that's if you're worried about upsetting your set 7 forwards, you set 8 mids and you set 7 backs, that's fine.
Yep.
But just arrange it so they're not out of the game at the crucial moment, in that crucial last 10, 12 minutes.
Yep.
I just don't understand that.
Yeah. All right, we're just quickly going to touch on the game that ended up probably flattering in the end for Brisbane, for Carlton, that they only lost by 28. But what an absolute disaster for the Blue Baggers. Exactly what you wanted to see, Lovey. Hurricane, I'm really interested in your thoughts on what you saw from Brisbane. Is that the best they've got? And what happened and why did they fall apart after that? Or did they just back off?
No, I don't think they backed off. I mean, they lost the last 2 games of the year. So, and I mean, in this day and age, like a team can come from 4 or 5 goals down so quickly. So I agree with Comrade here. I think that the Swans, Geelong or GWS, I think that your premier comes from those 3. Although I sort of think back to 2021 all year, Melbourne kept on winning, and I kept on saying, no, they're not going to win it. And they kept on winning, and it was happening right in front of me, and I was in denial. So your own personal bias comes in, and then Melbourne made the finals, and they won the finals, and they were easily the best side, and they won the flag. And I think that for the last 14 to 15 weeks, Hawthorn have been the best side in the competition, but none of us want to believe it unless you back for Hawthorn, and it might be you don't like them or you think they're too young. But I mean, the Swans' form for probably 8 weeks has been really poor, but the Swans have had the ability to just play one really good quarter and blow teams out of the water. So I'd like to think it's, the Swans, Geelong, GWS, but if I'm being unbiased, it wouldn't surprise me to see the Hawks in a grand final. I'm probably not prepared to believe that at the moment, so I'm saying the Swans. But the thing with the Swans, is if you close down their best 3 or 4 players, there is a gap there in their bottom 6, whereas the Hawks are just even all over the ground and they're kids and they're just running. And back to a point that you were talking about before. The game's just changed. Like, it is an entertainment game now. I mean, the draw isn't fair. It's inequitable everywhere. And, I think that the coach is doing a fantastic job. So I reckon you got to beware the Hawks, mate. The Hawks are just, if there's a side who could do it, I reckon they could do it.
All right, we'll come back to the Hawks.
The one thing I want to give Brisbane is I don't quite write Brisbane off. What did they kick on the weekend again?
Brisbane kicked
12 goals.
Yeah, but how many points?
Oh, stack.
Yeah, a lot again. Like
right. So
14, 15.
For me, I yes, they kick inaccurately, but against a fellow final side, and that's what you've got to call Carlton, they're in the finals. They legitimately got there. So against another final side, they've had 50-plus inside 50s again, and they've been doing that most of the year. They've had over 30 scoring shots. They're doing 95. They're doing 90 to 95% of what you want in football done right. They've just got to finish the score off, and it wouldn't surprise me if poor GWS just happened to cop a bloody Joe Danaher 8-goal 2 masterclass for whatever reason, or Hipwood to kick 6 goals 1. I
hope it happens, Lovey. I hope GWS get rolled.
It doesn't really fuss me, but I just find it. I just think if Brisbane get it right in front of the sticks, then they're still in this whole thing. I mean, until they do, they're not going to win it, right? But it's not like they're a basket case for a football team. They've just got to. Remember too, they were 1 win off finishing second.
And they're probably.
I think if they kick straight, I think they're still legitimate contenders.
Just on that, Lovey, and really good points. Do we think the possibility, and it's clearly a possibility, that the sides that are currently in the prelim that have made it, qualified, Sydney and Geelong, can miss the grand final?
Yes.
I actually think that's a possibility. And I'm not saying that just because you're a Geelong man, Hurricane, but I think, as Lovey said, as much as a Bombers man, Danaher's been great, but he could kick 8-2 and Hipwood could kick 7-1 and they'll blow GWS away. And then all of a sudden they got a bit of momentum.
I personally think the GWS are a massive threat. The thought of playing Brisbane on the MCG is one that I'd go to prelim day feeling really, really confident on the MCG.
I think Sydney have got the softer half of the draw coming up.
Oh, for sure, yeah.
All right, let's talk about the games coming up. That's enough about last week because there's not much you can change about last week now. All right, let's get into this week.
Carlton got smashed, and it was
correct.
So fucking good.
So for me, wrapped that the doggies got rolled, obviously from our rivalry of 21. But in amongst that, Carlton, it's great to see, in my opinion. It'll come. Their day will come.
They've had it. Fuck them.
Yep. Yeah, well, that CFC tat is it'll happen Monday, Lovey.
Gone.
Just clarify again. Where's the tattoo? So, who needs to win the flag, Lovey, to get a tattoo this time?
That's good to see you pay attention, Glenn.
Is it the Hawks?
Again, bottom of the ankle. Bottom of the ankle bone. Just a little 20-cent base Hawthorn emblem.
Yep.
Go Hawks.
Exactly. Righto. We're actually going to move to the second game first, just in case Adam decides to finish his cooking. You had to go off and do some cooking. Like, give me a spell, Adam. You get your priorities right, mate.
Sensitive New Age Hawk.
It's all about Sam. We've had enough of Sam. Let's just be honest. John, we'll be fair to you. First time caller, long time listener, they say. But all right, let's talk about this week's game, boys. GWS versus Brisbane. I'm going to throw to Lovey first, just on Brisbane. Can they just keep this firing momentum now? GWS are going to be filthy that they've dropped that one. A massive opportunity gone begging. They're going to come out absolutely firing. It's a really interesting one. It's going to be in Sydney, obviously. What do you think?
So specifically on Brisbane. Oh, look.
Yep.
People would say this is a free hit, but I don't think they can afford to say that. They played in the grand final last year. They were 2 kicks off, or 1 kick off winning it. They've been going at it now for 5 years under Fakes. They had 2 or 3 years of progression and then legitimacy, and this is their 5th year of being absolutely legitimate. I think they still need to win it. I honestly think they still need to win this week, Brisbane. They've got to make sure they keep putting pressure on themselves to make sure that they just don't whittle away to a top 6 team. Now, they should be at least a preliminary final off the back of last year. I think they would have had that goal. I go back to the fact that 5 minutes ago, when I mentioned 5 minutes ago, GWS's biggest danger is the fact that if they get it right in front of the sticks, Brisbane could win this by about 6-7 goals. That's the thing. GWS are also a very young team, whereas Brisbane, for me now, a roll gold, mature, almost to the point of old. I wouldn't call them old, but they're definitely a lot more mature team. But they need to get to a prelim this year. Look, I think they can do it off the back of just continually winning the football the way they do. They're still some of the best football winners of the football you'll see. Zorko's having a year out. Dunkley's horribly underestimated or underrated. He is one player that the Dogs wish they would have. And they're going to lose a few other players. If he was still there, I actually think they'd be still contending. He is that good. Dunkley is so good, and it allows the McCluggys and the Lockie Neals to get on the outside of him a bit. So they've got no issue winning the footy. There's no issue with that, and there's no issue with hitting targets inside 50. But it's on the forwards. The forwards have to actually, a couple of them are getting paid really good dollars. Now, I know I hate talking about dollars in football, but the fact of the matter is kick the goals. Do the right thing and kick the goals. Defending the defensive 6-7, it's just demoralising as a defensive 6 or 7 when your forwards don't kick straight. So their best chance is just to capitalise on the football that they will get. GWS will give them looks, so they've got to go at it. They've got to kick the goals.
Yep, that's as simple as that. Kick the goals and kick them straight. You only get so many attempts. Carlton, did pretty well if you look at their scoreline and what they actually did. They kicked straight at least. Then again, probably some cheap over the toppers as well.
Brisbane. Sorry, I can't remember who it was that said that they thought Brisbane actually did capitulate in the second half. I don't agree. They shouldn't have, but they took the pedal off. You can just see it. Their pressure rating went almost to 160. So that's their own head. That's in their own head case, really. That's their own head to get that right as well. But I think Brisbane can win this if they kick straight and kick well.
Yeah, well, the Giants start favourites. So at the moment, that is 4th versus 5th is how it's panning out at the moment. John, interested in your thoughts. This game's, I reckon, it's going to be a close one.
Yeah, I think so too. I think the key for Brisbane comes down to a couple of players. For me, that's Eric Hipwood and Cam Rayner. Can they show up to a final? I think that's probably the big question mark on someone like Eric Hipwood. I don't know the last time he played a good final. Maybe I'm being a bit harsh when I say that, but that's going to be a big role in if Brisbane put a score on the board. Because I think you know what you're going to get from GWS. I think they're fairly consistent across the 3 lines. But I think if Cam Rayner can show up and burst through packs and be that excitement machine, and if Eric Hipwood can actually take a few grabs and kick the goals, I think that's going to be a massive key. Because I think Brisbane's midfield is super consistent. Their back line, I think, is super consistent. You've got confidence in what they're going to be able to do. And they're going to go head-to-head with another good midfield with GWS and their forward line. But I think the match is won is whether you got Eric Hipwood and Cam Rayner can have a night and actually contribute. Because Cam Rayner is, when he's on, he's one of the best players in the game, I believe. But when he's off, he's off. His best to worst is quite marginal.
Yeah, he's what they call a barometer in amongst the side for sure. I'm sure the boys agree there. But we're going to bring up the GWS specialist who's jumped on. I expect an orange T-shirt if they win after this week, or at least the T-shirt design better than their hideous merchandise range they've come up with this year.
What is happening with footy merch?
Correct.
Name one good footy tee finals footy tee this final series.
It's going to be on for young and old if the premiership tees don't look good for GWS, because we're going to buy you one anyway. What's your thoughts?
I think GWS, I'm pretty confident with it. I think that Brisbane are running out of legs. I think that their inaccuracy has cost them dearly. I just think that they've done a great effort to get to this point. I just think it's GWS to win the game.
Yep, righto. All right, Hurricane, we're coming to you, mate. What have you seen from the outside looking in on your week off? You're sitting back with a red wine, just taking it easy this week. What's your thoughts? Are you going to watch any of these games?
I am, mate. I am. I'm going to watch this one very, very closely because I think Brisbane's the better side. Well, they've got the better players on their day, but I think that GWS are the real danger. I don't know why. That's just what I think. That Brisbane up forward, Cameron hasn't been great. Kyle Loman's been fantastic, but he's a kid. Logan Morris is a kid. Joe Danaher. I just can't see them kicking straight, mate. I just can't see them, converting. I think that the guy who's won the Coleman, we're not even talking about him. Like he's had the best year ever.
Yep.
And I think that a Toby Green, if he plays well, and he's due for a big game. So, yeah, I think they're just even. And playing at home is probably worth a couple of goals. I think it's going to be a really close game, and I think that the Giants might just get over the line by a kick or two.
Righto, there's a good margin. Cuz, what's your margin, mate? Who wins it?
Yeah, look, I think maybe a goal or two to the Giants. Like as all the boys have sort of said, I think they've got the cattle, Brisbane, but unfortunately, even in games they've won against other finals contenders, or as Lovey said, people who earned their right to play finals, they just can't convert. They get the ball into their forward line, but just don't convert often enough against more quality opponents. I think GWS would have learned a lot from sort of little mistakes they made last week and make little tweaks to that. As Hurricane just said, Jesse, he's won the goal kick. He's won the Coleman. And we're not even talking about the guy. He had a bit of a mare in the last sort of 5 minutes last week, like a few of his mates did. But I think him stepping up, the quality players that they've got around the midfield as well, I think gets them over the line just in a tight one.
Keep in mind he's a full forward, but plays at half back for the kicking. Unbelievable effort for a guy's work rate, who a lot of people have shit canned him over time, considering to be lazy. Not a bad work ethic to get up the ground. He's pretty much the target for every kick out of the back line. Now, I just can't understand how that can't be blanketed. And the question is, who's going to take him? Lovey, interested in your thoughts on this one. Who's going to take Jesse Hogan up the ground? Have you kind of had a think about that one?
I think the way Brisbane plays, let him go up the ground. Let him go up. It's when he comes back.
Keep him up. Push him up.
You can do what you like with him, but where does he kick his goals? It's not up the ground, is it? It's down deep.
Yep.
That's where you get your 2-on-1 back on him. So if he wants to go up the ground, that's great. What teams haven't done well enough against him this year is actually make sure you track back with numbers on him.
Yeah, back with him, yeah.
And he's running patterns.
Coming back,
The thing that I noticed, and it was on one of those shows, and I really liked it. It's actually his running patterns in his tank. Yes, you spoke about his ability to just run, but it's not just for the sake of it, right? He runs to a gap, then he finds another gap, and then he finds a running space where he just knows he's going to be able to get that football. So the maturity and the smartness of the way that Jesse Hogan runs to his spots to then get the football is probably the best I've seen for a while. Tall forward, being intelligent enough to be doing that. And don't forget, there's very few that are better than him, literally on the lead, one out too. You give him the 20-metre space in front of him, he's he's actually elite in that way, in getting the football that way too. So Brisbane just have to make sure that where they can, they try and organise a 2-on-1 scenario against him and make sure they actually still win the fucking football back too at the same time. I can't believe it. It's just strange to believe he was once at Melbourne. Sorry, mate, but what did you get for him?
Not a lot.
Yeah. So, hindsight's great on that. But I mean, he's fulfilling exactly what he was meant to do, and he was the high pick. So good on him. I reckon it's great. He's come back. He's told everyone else that wrote him off, including I didn't think he'd be able to get back, but there were very vocal people about it. I'm just glad he stuck it up, and I reckon it's fantastic. Yeah,
look, maturity is a beautiful thing. If you could, if he could have had that maturity level head as a young kid, he would have been unbelievable by now. But
GWS by 14 points for me. I still can't quite trust Brisbane kicking straight enough.
Yeah, I think for me, just before we jump to you, John, I think Brisbane are going to kick themselves out of this. They're going to spray it. Danaher spray it one side, Hipwood the other. I think it's just if the midfielders can get enough goals, Brisbane win. If they can't, and Lockie Neal's just epic again this year, and got a few friends around him. Dunkley, incredible, as you said, and there's a few others in that mix. So I think I'm going GWS by 28. So it's a little bit larger margin than we give it credit for. Eddie Zamet, the GWS train rolls on. We expect an orange T-shirt off you if they get up and win, and we also expect you're considering membership for next year.
I'm going to say GWS by 36.
Oh, very confident. Look forward to those results. Kaz, I hope you're tabling all these results because I'm giving you a task to put all that in amongst the WhatsApp group that we've formed.
I've got one question to John.
Yep.
Goes to Lockie Whitfield. What do you do with him?
Oh, I think that's a Kyle Lohmann job.
Yeah.
I think you put Kyle Lohmann on Lockie Whitfield.
Yep.
He's probably got the tank to be able to go with him. He's probably got the tenacity to be able to go with him. But I can't see anyone else in that Brisbane forward line to be accountable, to be fair. I think Cameron's a very offensive player. Rayner's an offensive player. I think Kyle Lohmann's you go if you're going to go on Lockie Whitfield. You want to shut him down. You
would tag him. You would shut him down. Try and shut him down.
I'd almost tag Finn Callaghan, to be fair. I think he's a real, very underrated player for GWS. I think it gives him a lot of drive from that wing, and then that he's got a really long penetrating kick. And I know we talk about how good Hogan's been, but I think we underestimate the roles of Cadman and Green in allowing him that space to get out because they're dangerous players and they're leading patterns as well to be able to lead and be dangerous enough for their forwards to come out, which gives Hogan that space to be able to lead into or let him do his work one-on-one because let's face one-on-one he's an absolute beast of a man. There's not many backmen that can go with him, and he's also got the speed off the mark. But I think the unselfishness of the other GWS forwards to give Hogan that space to be able to work into, and then you got Finn Callaghan off that wing with that booming kick. I think that's a danger for Brisbane.
Bit for Geelong to think about the following week, isn't there?
Yeah.
And you're on mute, Aaron.
Sorry, boys. You got a margin for you, John? Thanks, Lovey.
I'm going GWS by 18.
Okay, close enough. 3 goals. Close enough in the final. Kaz, what's your thoughts? Did you give us a margin?
Yeah, I'll go a couple of goals. I've got this checking back to make sure I've got it all correct because I've become Ash Chewer, according to the podcast.
Good man. You'll be watching it back.
Goals.
Yep.
Hurricane by a couple of goals as well.
14 points.
A couple of goals.
14 points, Glenn. Not a couple of goals, 14 points.
Get the boy off. Bring the boy back. We'll bring him back in a second. Come on, Kaz. Do your work, mate. Well, you're going to have to replay the tape. You're going to have to check the tape. All right.
Hey, John, how many times did I have to do that when we were coaching, Glenn?
Mate, I've only got 10 fingers. Anything over 10, I'm lost.
Good work. That's why we like it. A little bit more banter on Cuz. And just on that, we're gonna touch on the Hawks now because we've got our man back. But we just wanted to touch on this after the other night's mental health discussion, which was an absolute cracker. If you didn't see that episode, please go back and have a look at it. But it is Are You OK Day, which is now referred to as Are You OK Any Day, which I think is a really good initiative. So, boys, just wanted to think about today in amongst our conversations. That's the whole, I'm wrapped that all you guys have been able to make it tonight. I always put out just a blanket message out to who can jump on. Great to meet you, John, and have you part of the crew. Hurricane, welcome back as well. And Adam, you're the man, mate. So we talked about Adam just before and the fact that he burnt us a couple of minutes ago because he said he's got to go and prepare and cook and do all these things. He's talking about his new age Hawks before and social media, and everyone's a little bit different. I'm a bit concerned about him, but to be fair to him, he was there on this day. Have a look at this. The question is, can you spot Adam in the crowd?
Holding Clarko's knob.
He's behind Clarko, typically. The girl with her hand upright.
Yeah, he's up underneath her armpit.
That shocking head. I reckon it's Photoshop just quietly. I don't
Jesus, I'd rather be bald than have that salad.
I don't think he was there, but let's bring him up and let's talk Hawks next.
Yeah.
Welcome back, mate.
Oh, mate. See, and you know the great thing about that, 2014, you know, like when you've got your photo up in the picture, you know, you're etched into history. You know, in 30 years' time, when you're on your rocking chair and you got your kids and your grandkids, you got a photo there, you know, with Clarko, and you know, it's special, mate. You know.
Well, just before you go on, I've got to touch Eddie Zammit, Photoshop whiz, in amongst the design. He's the design man for us. Just on this, pretty sure this is photoshopped, right?
Nah, fuck. Oh, that's me. That's me, mate. I've got this other footage on the boundary line when Gibson was coming around with the cup, mate. Good 2 minutes of me there. Oh, I'll prepare it for next week. We'll get up this week. And next week we'll do another. Oh, well, sorry. I was doing a Jack Ginnivan. Sorry.
Next week.
It's Jack Ginnivan, isn't it?
Yes.
Well, that's how you. So, do you think he's etched himself into social media history with that post this week?
Oh, he can do what he wants, mate.
Oh,
he can do until he loses.
What happens if you lose?
Oh, mate, my phone will be off.
I guarantee you, boys, I will happily pick up every one of you and we will go to Adam's house and sing the song out the front. It's going to be a sweet day because he is ready. He is ready, fair to say. But Adam, just before we jump on the Hawks, give us your tip on the previous game, which is actually the second final, GWS and Brisbane. What's your thoughts there? Give us that quickly.
I think in a final, Chris Fagan. See, look, Brisbane are. I think they're number one. I think Brisbane are number one kicking side in the competition, and GWS are the number one handball side in the competition. GWS is rated 18 at kicking, and vice versa with Brisbane. They're 18 for handballs. So two contrasting games. What wins in a final? Handball and pressure. So, I mean, Brisbane's got the home ground advantage, but yeah, I think GWS will just win. So I saw a little bit of vision today of GWS and their handball game. I just think, look, it's going to be a great game, but it depends who turns up. You know, it really depends on. They both got a great game. It just depends on which team turns up. You know, everyone's saying Hawthorn, but you know, if Port Adelaide, mate, they're gonna have Jack Ginnivan's head on the whiteboard at the start of the game. They're gonna have his head, mate. I tell you, the first quarter, they didn't lose by 80 points, and they're gonna come out, and then Hawthorn's just gonna get their way. No way. First quarter, mate, there'd be blood. blood on the streets, mate, if Port lose this game. Go the fucking Hawks. Go the fucking Hawks.
How much GWS win by?
2 goals.
Okay.
Sneak over the line. Sneak over the line. But we'll see. We'll see. All right. The Mighty Hawks. Will they be the Mighty Hawks come Sunday? That's the question after Saturday night. It's going to be interesting, fair to say. We all can't wait for this. This is the big one for us in our WhatsApp group for this final series. Be prepared to have it light up. And we also know alternate numbers for Adam, just in case he decides to turn his phone off, just to let you know. And happy to circulate that to make sure we can get onto him. But it's going to be...
Show you guys, I got a mate. I got a mate. Guess what he did today? Guess what he did with his family? He hired. Can you see this photo? He hired a Winnebago. Look at this. And he's gone up. He's driven up to Adelaide today with his family. He's going to watch the footy. Look at these photos. Look at that Winnebago. He's been sending me all the updates. Look, that's him in the Winnebago with the little dog.
Beautiful.
And look, they're playing. They're in a caravan park tonight, 3 hours out of the border.
Do you like our preparation here, guys? Like this is how we go live with all the modern technology we've got, and we're holding up a phone to the camera. It's just beautiful. We need to get a little bit more technical. I can.
Can you guys see it, mate? That's fantastic.
Yep. Well, tonight, in case you haven't guessed, it's all about Hawthorn, but it's actually all about Adam. Let's be honest, but now we have to share. We have to share Adam because we've got John on as well, who's a proud, passionate Hawk.
Good bloke, John. I like him.
There's a bit to like at the moment. That's for sure. So let's see if they can get it done. We're going to talk margins, and we're also going to talk. All right, we're going to do what we did last week. We're going to go with a halftime score this time. How do we go, John?
I reckon we'll be 5 goals up at halftime. So about 28 points at halftime.
Silence the crowd, which is a good start. That's exactly what you want to do over in Adelaide.
I think the first quarter is key. If we can start well, I think we go on with it. I think my big question mark on Hawthorn is the first time we're actually going in favourites for a very long time. And whether we can handle that mantle, because those games leading into finals, like those big games against Carlton, the Collingwood before that, I don't think we were necessarily favourites. Last week against the Doggies, we weren't favourites. We were always the underdogs. You always go in that mentality and that point to prove someone wrong. But this week, it's been overwhelming favouritism to Hawthorn. And I know Jack even put that tweet out, but everyone's talking as if we're already playing Sydney in 2 weeks' time. So that's going to be the challenge for Hawthorn, is whether we can put that to one side and still come out with that mentality and play our footy. And I think if we can do that and we start well, even if we're down at quarter time, if it's by a goal or two, I think I think that, like last week, I think the second quarter will come into our own. So I think it's early if we don't get blown out early. Like Port don't put 3, 4, 5 on us early.
Yeah. If they get up and about, we know what their crowd's like. They all pull their teeth out and they start getting ugly. So, Adam, what's your thoughts? What's the halftime score, mate?
Oh, look, we're going to have a bit of support there.
Bit of support there. Look at you. You're not interested. No Hawthorn colours tonight. Both of you didn't represent at all.
Yeah,
I expect better next week.
Don't want to go too early. Look, it's going to be tough. Look, mate, Ken Inkley's balls are on the line, mate. He loses this, mate. He might as well get his mate. He's going to have to pack up his. Here he is, Lovey. Look back. You have to get in on it, can't you? You can't wait for Port Adelaide to win. You can't wait. Can't the Hawks fucking down the line? Get up, Hawks.
Right, give us your margin. Give us your margin, Lovey. Half-time margin.
Hang on, I'm still talking. Half
Put the
time.
boy.
Fucking hurry up.
Get the boy off. Righto.
It's going to be
let's bring
even.
you back.
Even half time. Even
at half time. Righto. All right.
I've
that's a good one.
I've got Hawthorn will go onslaught early. Honestly believe that, because they're young and adventurous and still have nothing to lose. I mean, let's face it, they're not. These are free hits for them. But I don't know. I reckon I've got Half time, I've got Hawthorn 3 goals 9 to 5 goals 1. So I've got Port Adelaide up under a goal, but Hawthorn had a lot of chances in the first half.
He's getting a bit excited there. What's your thoughts, Hurricane?
Well, I think Hawks will be up by about 23 points at half time. They would have dominated, and I think that Port will win by 3 points.
Ooh,
Right.
reverse sweep 14.
I think Hawthorn will shoot the bet, and I love the Kelshire fucking story. It's just fantastic.
Yeah.
So I think he's fantastic. So, but I just think that now that Butters knows if he doesn't have broken ribs, and it's a bruise, he'll be jabbed up to the hilt, and he's a beast, mate. He's a beast.
Yep. As I heard Hodgie say during the week, a couple of whacks early, and that's all you need to do.
Kane's
after
comments were just, I couldn't think of a bloke less, that would be like that. So I think he's going to come out and prove people wrong. I think that if he plays, he'll have a blinder.
Yep. Righto, footy merch man. Before we come to you, Cuz, I know you're madly writing all the scores down here.
I am, mate. I am.
Good to see. You only have to watch half the video then. What's your thoughts to you, Eddie? Half time
I don't think this week there's going to be any abracadabra magic. I think that Port by 6 at halftime, and I think they'll go on to win by 29 points. Controversially, look at this.
Creepers.
I know. I just think that was not a good post at the start of the week. I reckon it's going to come back and bite him massively.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, you know what it comes down to? It comes down to Hinkley versus Mitchell at the end of the day. And, Mitchell wants it bad. But I'll tell you what, if any coach wants it more, it's Hinkley right at the moment. And I reckon behind closed doors, he'd be absolutely filthy about last week's loss. He doesn't look good. He has to face the press again. He wants shit to happen this week, and that's why it's going to happen. It doesn't help. It doesn't help Hawthorn that it's over in Port Adelaide.
No, you're right. It's not so far as a Winnebago.
If it's in Melbourne, I think Hawthorn, but I don't know. I just think that I just go back to the Hinkley versus Mitchell thing for me.
Yep. It's going to be on, and it's going to be on early. Cuz, give us your thoughts. What was the margin?
Okay. I've got Port Hawthorn by 12 points at halftime. I think they're a bit of a free hit, as a few of the boys have said. Then I think Port might run them over, home ground advantage, 6 points in the last quarter. Now, that's got nothing to do with me hating Hawthorn. I just think Hawthorn have probably done very well. I just need to confirm, though, apologies, the great Hurricane. Did you give a margin for Port? Not too sure. As you need to give me a half-time and a full-time, please.
All right, back to you, Hurricane. What was the margin?
3 points, the same as the margin the last 2 times they've played.
So 3-point margin for Port, final score, Magic. Thank you.
Yep.
History repeats. Let's see. Yep. Does it?
Good song.
Absolutely.
What about you, AC?
Yeah, I've got Port. I reckon Port are going to start. They're going to start on fire. Crowd's going to be up and about. Our big man with the beard up forward is going to kick a couple to get him going because he's filthy at the moment. Although I reckon it was a pretty emotional conversation they had with him. If anyone heard that in the last couple of days, he was pretty disappointed. He took a lot of it on his own shoulders. So it'll be interesting to see. He's going to kick the first couple to get them up and firing. So they're going to be up by 22 at halftime.
Oof.
But the good news is it's going to be the Hawks by a point to take it. And Adam is going to be beside himself, but he's going to be, fair to say, the stress levels for him and John are going to be quite high in that last quarter.
I'll be working.
The hands are livid. There's teeth getting thrown over the fence. Hinkley is inconsolable. It's going to be a beauty. I'm putting down this one as one of the finals of all time that we're going to see here, boys. So there it is. There's the margin. Have we got a margin off everyone for this game?
Can you give us a modest margin for the end of the game, please, mate? Modest.
It's either going to be Hawks by 4 points or 40 points. I just
Get off
don't
the
know.
fucking fence, mate. Give us one margin.
40 points. Hawks by 40.
Thank you.
So
Either going to be
Just a-
close in or a blowout.
just to round this off, this is like stabbing myself in the eyes with blunt spoons. By the way, I've rung up SA Department of Human Services too, Adam. I've dobbed your mate in. How you put your kids through that shit is beyond me. I think I said Hawthorn were down by 3 points at halftime, 5-4 to 3-9 or something like that. Yeah. 5-1 to 3-9. But Hawthorn do go on with it. Unfortunately, I think Hurricane makes a really good point. Houston, Farrell, Burton's a big one out. He's a huge out for them in terms of run and the ability to intercept and stop opposition forwards from getting football. So the fact that Butters, don't care what anyone says, you go in sore in a final, you're going to cop it, and you're not going to be playing at your best. It's a bit like the Toby Green syndrome at the moment. That's just stiff, wrong time, wrong game, wrong time of year. Hawthorn are just fitter. It's going to be they're going to be fitter. They're running along the ground a bit more. Adelaide's nice and spacious too. People forget that. Hawthorn obviously love a big ground. So I think the Adelaide Oval actually plays into Hawthorn's hands quite well for this particular week. So hate saying it, I think Hawthorn run away with this by about 38 points.
You're talking about? Fuck, it's good.
I know, it's fucking – I just want to die.
We won't beat Sydney on that fucking shit ground. Mate, did you watch that game last week? Mate,
he's already there. Hang on, he's already there.
That game last week, GWS and Sydney, that game, every ball was like, it was like a flick out the back or a flick it's shit. It's shit.
Well, contests.
Shit. No, you don't win grand finals.
Nah, I love it. I love a smaller ground.
I'm with Adam, 100%. Like that's the next level of that. I think we can beat Port. I don't think we beat Sydney because of that shit ground. I think Geelong showed what they could get on their little skinny ground to us and be able to shut out our run and be able to shut out our switches.
Haven't even got there yet. The excuses have started.
The ground's the same colour as your jumper. Shit. So what are you complaining about?
Sorry?
You blokes have been kissed on the you-know-what.
Big space to move, and we run the ball through.
The ground shit. Suck it up, princesses. Get a
that's
tattoo,
why
lovey. Fuck them over.
At least
that's why
cheap. But anyway, we'll move on from that. But
that's why the Dogs fucking lost, because they played one game at the MCG. They played every other game at Marvel. Mate, but 3 minutes before halftime last week, I was there. They just stopped Doggies. Mate,
so hold on.
They came out after half time, and the Doggies looked like, mate, it's like the horses down the mountain yard. Mate,
so you actually needed. So in other words, you Hawthorn scum actually were needed and required assistance. You required assistance by forcing the Bulldogs to have a home game at the MCG when actually it should have been at Marvel if we're absolutely fair dinkum. So if it was at Marvel, so in other words, you guys have cheated and you've had the game at the MCG when it shouldn't have been there.
You don't win grand finals on the
swings and roundabouts. You know what? I hope Port Adelaide just smack your asses back over the border by 80 points. Don't give a shit now. You're a pack of cheats. That's it.
Oh, you've changed your tip. You've changed your tip.
No, it's Hawthorn by 38. But metaphorically, I want to absolutely spank the shit out of you. You're cheats.
Adam, just to let you know, all right, so we finish up there on the footy side of things, but we've got to get these number plates discussed. All right, we're going to bring up our merchandise and memorabilia genius in amongst us. We've got one tonight. These are the number plates. Give us a quick story, Adam, and then Hurricane's going to give us a value.
I think I bought these in 2000. I think Essendon won 2000. Was it 99 or 2000 they won for the first one? and then they were going back to back. I think they were playing Port Adelaide, or were they playing Port Adelaide in a grand final? Was that right? And then they lost. So I bought these Don's BB, but they didn't go back to back. They went back to back in 84, 85. I was actually going to ring up SEN, try and sell them to Tim Watson because he played in those 2 grand finals.
It is all about how you spin the story, but I think Cuz is going to pull you up there.
No, you're not too far off. Tim Watson didn't play, so we won 2000.
No, I'm talking about 84, 85. 84, 85.
Tim Watson played 84, 85, but you bought that in 2000, yeah?
Yeah, but I can't sell them as back to back in because I'm back there.
Harry cannot buy them, he told me before. He will buy them. He loves that sort of stuff.
Nice. Let's get a value. What could it's all about the story, isn't it, Hurricane? And
it is. I've got a number plate close to that. It's Don 334 for Don Bradman's 334.
Oh, Don Bradman. Okay, well these are Don's BB, so it's different. What do you think?
I think that
I'm holding on a bag of shit.
I think if you can find someone in the small goods business or a deli, Contesson that's that likes their Straz, I reckon you're on a winner. But I mean, I think that's your best bet, to find some bloke that loves Straz, who's named Bob Batocchi or Bob Burton. It's about $495 for personalised plates, and I reckon they're worth about 150.
I think Adam's gotten selfish. We gave him $30 collectively last week, so I would
have taken 30.
Yep.
Greedy Hawthorn fan yet again.
Tim Watson, I'm going to ring up, and he might take these.
Righto, boys.
Adam, if you can get Tim Watson to take them, but you got to tell Tim Watson the proviso. He comes on the podcast to discuss it. There you go. There's your challenge.
Look, I could ring. I'll ring Tuesday morning. I think he's on with Gary Tuesday morning.
I think he'd tell us all to get fucked, Glenn, to be fair. And
I think he may.
Just to let you know, Adam, I know you're a busy man and you're a new age man with your new Hawks, and it's all about them. You got 22 hours, 9 minutes, and 36 seconds before they bounce the ball. So just want to let you sit on that one. But you never know, but there's always this one.
So you're telling me there's a chance? Yeah!
We had to get it in, boys. It's in every show. So, boys, thanks for joining me on episode 151. We've started the next 150 with a bang. We look forward to a chat, hopefully next week. Are the Hawks still going to be there? That's the big question. Will we get the Winnebago, get in and drive to Sydney? Anything could happen from here. John, thanks for joining us, mate. Your first time on the chat. It's been a great one. You've been way too informative for us. But thanks for coming on, mate.
Thanks for having me. It was a pleasure.
Beautiful. Hurricane, welcome back.
It won't be in 24 hours, John. Eat a dick.
Exactly right.
Well,
First time, last time.
Just remember, we're only nice the first time in, but we really appreciate you jumping on, John. Thank you. All right, boys. Hurricane, once again, thank you, mate. Take the week off. Put your feet up. Mate. Drink from the cup, and we'll talk to you hopefully next week when we get a little bit closer. Let's knock them down as we go. Adam,
what is he doing?
He's absolutely losing his mind, fair to say.
Go the Hawks!
Oh dear.
Oh no.
We are the
This is why only Hawthorn people like Hawthorn now.
Yep.
It's just stupid juvenile shit like this.
That might change.
And more importantly, just on that, what's going on with your lovely family? I don't expect you to name which daughter, but what happened there?
No, I think it's great. Her boyfriend's a mad hawk.
Get a bit of clout.
We talk about he's a mad hawk, and we talk about being, not jumping on bandwagons and things like that. He has got the vintage Hawthorn logo as a tattoo on his arm there. It's almost washed off. It's getting that old. Oh, get rid of the boy, will you?
Get the boy off.
Thanks for joining us, Adam. You can get back to doing what you do well. Look at him. He's not going to rest. He's not going to sleep until the game. It's now down at 22 hours, 7 minutes, bang on. So good on you, mate. Go and enjoy. Eddie Zammit, thanks for joining us again, mate. Always informative. I'm giving you a task this week to go ahead and find us the worst T-shirt you can find that's been done for a football team. Could it be Nana Goon?
Yes,
back from the good old days. Here it is, the Gooners. It was one of the greats.
Just quietly, shout out to Nana Goon. They are playing in the grand final this coming weekend.
Beautiful.
Yeah, well, Phillip Island will wipe their ass, so it doesn't really matter. All good.
Yep. It's going to be a great challenge. And in classic Cuz way, if you're not in it, can't beat them, join them. That's what they say, Cuz. So thanks for jumping on. Eddie Zammit, great to see you again. I'll see you very soon. Enjoy the week. Lovey, let's just touch on quickly, possibly the biggest contract that we've seen in our recent times. Mac Andrew, geez, we've gone early, haven't we? I know the boy's shown a bit of potential, but that could be the only reason that Dusty doesn't end up at the Gold Coast.
Yeah.
Look, I know that there's a 4-year trigger attached to that. Total 9 years. 15 million over 9 years. I mean, that's look, it's going that way. I get it. I understand that. But isn't there a responsibility? And I'd like to have a pod on this one day. Where does the responsibility start and finish when these boys burn out because they can't achieve these contracts? They can't play up to those particular contracts. And look, Mac, good on him. I'm sure his agent's a snake oil salesman like the fucking rest of them. Wouldn't have his best interests at heart at all. I don't care what any of them say.
Yeah, it's a money grab.
That club just seems to constantly want to put itself in the shit all the time with stupid long end deals. Lukosius, he'll go. He was on a long end deal, hasn't worked, and I guarantee it's because it's too much pressure. I'm an advocate for capping the number of years you have on a contract in sport. I always have been, always will be. I just think good luck to him, but he's going to need a lot of support when times are not working well for him. And to your point, I can't recall him having a very good football season his first 3 or 4 years. Like, he's had some good games this year, and that's great. And I know the market now relies on paying on potential a lot more than what it ever used to. But you've just got to be cautious about this sort of stuff, I would have thought. Again, Lukosius, case in point, Bailey Smith, another one, can't live up to contract. He's moving on. He's moving on because he needs a fresh start because it's just way too much for him.
Yep.
I saw a meme during the week, Lovey, where they said about the McAndrew thing. And look, good luck to him. And as you said, the snake skin salesman, that's a perfect snake oil, a perfect analogy. That the Essendon thing, because of that one game when he beat it, he basically kicked that goal. He's got a $15 million contract with a 4-year clause, as you said.
No. To be fair, he's played some very good games of football this year.
I'm just saying that was the meme though. That's so he sees that, and I think that puts undue pressure on the kid in the next 4-5 years.
Yeah, it's crazy stuff, Aaron.
Yeah, it is. It is crazy. But we'll talk about when we get over this season. Maybe we'll have a one chat review on what we thought has happened or what we've seen happen over the trade kind of period and what we can expect for our team for next year. So, boys, thanks for joining me. It's been a great chat. Once again, another half an hour podcast turned into an hour and a half. It's been great. But to be honest, as I mentioned, to have all the boys on, a couple of new fellas, new faces in there, it's exactly what we talked about the other night with mental health. And a quick shout out to our mate Jack Davis, who joined us the other night with It's Cool to Cry. Please get on and check out itscooltocry.com. There's a little header from our mental health chat from the other night on Tuesday. Please jump on and
Episode
check that
150
out
it was.
on YouTube. Episode 150 will go down as probably one of the greats. It's great fun. Adam, let's hope you can relive this moment. We'll Photoshop you into the next Premiership Cup.
No, let's hope he doesn't. Anyway.
Absolutely. And most importantly, boys, I want you to ask everyone you can find tomorrow, because it is any day. Are you okay? So make sure you do that and say good day to everyone. And boys, most importantly, hope you're okay. Thanks for joining me tonight. It's been great fun.
Don't call me too early, Glenn. All right, on that note.
See you later. Thanks, boys. Thanks, Cuz. It's been great.
Thanks, beautiful. Thanks, mate.
Another great chat for episode 151. We will rapidly move into episode 152 next Tuesday with a chat with Peter Baxter. This guy is an Irish. We were going straight to Ireland, actually, to have a chat with this guy. And he's just released a song, and his voice is a great mix between Bono and The Edge. So put those two voices together, and it's pretty talented. So look forward to that one on Tuesday night. Please join us and have a chat. See you soon. Have a great week. Get out there. And as I said, the show was titled Beat Beat. Here it is. There you go. See you later. Got to get that in.